We're ready to move on to some other things. Let's talk about some properties. And again, these are some of the things I want to put on the table that may or may not be popular. We can talk about them anyway. If you don't like them, we are. Let's talk about the Old Town Hall. You all have a parcel of property that's sitting down the street here that essentially is being used for storage at the moment. It's currently listed on the tax value. There's actually 3 different parcels to it, but if you add all the parcels together, it's a little over $1.2 million on the tax rolls. For us right now at the moment, other than storage, it's not doing us a whole lot of good. And it was my understanding that, obviously you don't want to sell a lot of properties when the economy's bad because you don't really get what they're worth. You don't want to hit the low spot of the market. But I don't know how long it's going to be before we get back to that high dollar market. One of the things I would like for you all to consider is actually surplusing that property. And my recommendation to you would be not necessarily taking bids on it or whatever, but developing a package, maybe getting John to develop a package, send it out to real estate folks, and for lack of a better term, pay a finder's fee or a commission to the agent that sells it, so that we can try and get as much money as possible out of it to put back in our coffers, which here's my caveat to that. There is a problem with doing that because there's some things stored down there that have to go somewhere else. It's like when you're at home, you got extra space, you end up storing stuff. And if you got the space, you'll store stuff in it. We have some stuff that if that goes away, we probably need a storage place for it. Plus, we're also getting a little close on record storage right now.
I just happen to help some of them.
It just happened.
Well, that was convenient. But we need, there will be a little issue with getting rid of it. The one other caveat I have to that is recommendation would be for you, if you do put that on the market, you get a decent amount of money for it, and just assuming that you get 60% of tax value, that's going to be about $730,000 or almost $750,000 for it. Take part of that money, or all of that money if you want to, or at least 300 and some thousand of that money, put back into this fund balance, get us up to that number that I'm happy with the 50% or the 60%, put it back into our savings. And then depending on what you want to do with the rest of it, either pay off part of your debt service, apply it to your debt service, put it back in the general fund completely, or if you've got some other things you need, little projects that we haven't been able to do because we haven't been able to do them financially, basically set some goals for yourself that if I know I'm getting money from somewhere and I make myself a plan on what to do with it, then I can make it work more effectively, as opposed to just all of a sudden you have a bunch of money and you say, well, we'll spend it on the first thing that comes along. Put a plan in your mind on what to do with the finances that come in if you do decide to market that and it sells for a price that we're comfortable with. Because you always reject them. You don't have to take the offer that somebody gives you. You can always reject them. But I would like for you all to consider that in the future of disposing of that asset and moving on.
It's an expensive storage building.
Yeah, it is. Is there room out at the industrial plant to put a building?
I think we could.
For
That, I mean, for storage, he says if we sell the,
yeah, just a little bit.
right.
Yeah.
Our work's no harder, water, sewer.
I'm just trying to figure out, Warren was saying if we do sell it, we'll have to put some stuff we've got to, store.
Right.
Yeah, you've got some Christmas decoration stuff. Main Street has some stuff there. Gerald has some stuff there. Paperwork, we still got some paper records that we actually need some storage for. Or Jan and I have actually talked, some of those we could probably get rid of. We probably need to get a company to come in and we'll just shred a bunch of stuff and get rid of some stuff that's
It's
way
kind of
past
There's
that.
always records that they're considered.
Would we go ahead and get an appraisal? I mean,
I think that
I'd
would
have
probably be prudent so that you all have an
Right.
educated decision to make when somebody brings you an offer to see what it.
I mean, if we're gonna put it out there, we gotta put a number on it. And if we don't have an appraisal, we really don't have a lot of support.
So I would love for you all to bring that back to your table sometime and decide to surplus that and make a plan on what to do with it. Plus, if we get it in the hands of the right folks, That's about $3,000 a year that based on the tax value that would bring back in the tax revenue for the next, every year we keep it off, that's $3,000 we lose for that property.
Right.
Now, let's put the one on the table that will probably raise the eyebrows.
There we go.
You can blame it on me, I'm the new person. not the
See
one.
that?
Whitmire property. Controversial occasionally, but I really and truly think we need to bring it back to the table and let's decide what we're gonna do with it, or at least start heading in the right direction of what we're gonna do with it. And I think you have three options. And in this particular one, I don't have an opinion either way. I'm open to whatever you all decide you wanna do. There's some pluses and minuses with each one. I think you can, well, first of all, it's valued about 1.9 million on the tax rolls. I think y'all paid $1.5 million for it out of, I think y'all paid for it out of fund balance. Or out of 30 acres. That one's 13 acres.
About at 13.
12.97, somewhere in that neighborhood. If you applied the 60% rule to that, which is what I'm basing other stuff off of, it's worth about $900,000 to $1 million. You have a couple options. Option number one is you sell it. You take the money you get out of it, you put it back in the general fund, or you do whatever you need to return it where it needs to be and use that money for something else, or offset your debt, or pay down your debt, or do something with the cash. Option number two is we turn it into something. We do something constructive with it and make it into something that attracts folks to the town of Franklin as a benefit to the folks of Franklin. And the stipulation to that is it needs to be a benefit to Franklin. We need to make sure it's worth something. It brings people in that spend money here that brings us revenue, and it attracts people. It generates something for us. Or you do a hybrid between the two. You do a public-private partnership somehow, and maybe you sell off part of it and you develop part of it. I don't know. Option number one, selling it brings you a lot of cash in, but you have to figure out what you're gonna do with it. And it may or may not bring back in what you had in it to start with. You may be able to wait, if you decide to do the old town hall, market it, see what the market is, see how we do, see how it works. If you're comfortable with where the market is, and it doesn't have to be done, this is not gonna be done tomorrow. See how that one goes, and then you'll kind of know where this one may head, because you're gonna test the waters with the market and see where we're at. Option number two is to turn it into something. If you do that as a government, we've got to pay for it somehow. And depending on, I've told folks before, I have no design sense when it comes to designing parks and parties and areas and things like that. You're probably better off to have somebody that's qualified and does that to give you designs on something to look at. But there's costs with doing the designs and there's costs with doing the project. So somebody's got to have in the back of their mind how you're going to pay for that if you do that. If you do a hybrid, you may be able to split that difference with some kind of public-private partnership that maybe you sell off part and you develop part and you use the proceeds from selling part of it to develop the other part of it into something more. Or if you do the old town hall, you may have some funds out of it after you get me some money back in the general fund and I'm happy with those numbers, then you can apply that toward this project. But it's not going to be an easy discussion for y'all to have, and there's going to be pluses and minuses on each side. But I think rather than pushing it off to the back burner, we need to get it on the table and discuss it somewhere.
I think we need to do a long-range plan with it. I mean, we don't have to do anything more, but I bet if we went around this table, all of us have different opinions about it.
Probably do.
And we don't know how, I mean, we're not experts in this type of thing. And I agree, I think you're gonna have to do a long-range plan and have someone, I think it would be to our advantage. It may cost us some up front, but in the long run, it's gonna pay for it if we know what could actually be done with it.
It's one of the few properties left in the city limits. It's that large. I'm thinking probably just within the city limits, it's probably one for
Well, if we sell it,
city.
if we sell it, it's gone, and then not long after that, the money we get's gone. But if we don't sell it, we've got it forever.
This,
And we'll never have it again.
let me tell you what has I don't wanna say the word saved us, but what has kept the pressure off is that damn layer of bamboo. You don't notice it, you drive through town day after day and you don't notice that 13 acres sitting there right in the middle of town laying beautifully because of that huge, and that's probably a bit of saving
That's probably
grace.
good.
If we want, if we did decide to market it, whatever they decide to do, first thing I'd do would be cut that down so people would notice it whenever they drive by.
We would have to find
But,
a place for the homeless.
But
Yeah, that's true.
it absolutely is not the best use of it, what's happening now.
Well, let me just kind of mention something. I think the future of Macon County involves the outdoors. Our trail days, our hiking, everything else. We've already had, one group has already offered to build biking trails up there right now, but we never really took them up on it. And a green space like Farrell was talking about, there is no other place in Franklin that I can see that we could ever use for something that would benefit the greatest number of people, like a park or something like that would up there.
Yeah,
I mean, we don't have to make money just because we're a town.
I agree with Bob on this. I don't have any problem with going ahead and surplus the old town hall.
I don't either.
Oh,
You know, with
Served
no
its
property left, you know, in the city that's that size, I would hate that we did something with it, and then it's gone, then that down the road, we needed something. I mean, property is worth money, just having properties.
I still would like to see if somebody, I mean, I agree with that, when it's gone, it's gone. But I think it would be worth money to see what someone who did this could come up with. We need parks, we need walking, you know, this. We also, you know, they could combine some of this stuff.
Wasn't there a study done years ago on that? What all the different
No,
things?
that was a discussion point some time
It was
ago.
discussion,
Yeah.
But we
We
never
never
got
did
it.
it, we never did it.
Yeah, we just never got there.
I think it's time we may need to do something like that.
I'd say the two most popular things within the city limits is the Greenway and the J.C. Park. Look at how much use those two
That's
places
true.
get.
That's true. And right now, Warren's schedule here, but, I think it's probably time that we know, speaking of his surplus money, he won't, that when we get some surplus money, that we need to look at probably doing something, helping with that greenway. I think it's time that if you walk that greenway, and the people, you can't get enough volunteers to do all that. And I think it's time that maybe we need to look at, putting some money in that and helping keep that place clean, because first of all, it's gonna keep down to this. I don't care, when it looks bad, people are gonna go there. And our out-of-town people go there all the time. Our own people walk that greenway.
They're about to wear it out.
I know, but that's just something too,
Yeah,
we need to keep,
This is
because it
right.
is an asset.
it is.
You know, we've also talked about different times, you know, when we've gone to Clayton, you know, they've got that nice little convention deal, and I can't tell you how many functions I've been down there, and people have driven down there and say, why can't Macon County have something like that here? Why do we have to go out of town for something nice like that? I don't know the feasibility with 13 acres of being able to have something, but that would, and just think of how many people would rent it, use it, the people who would come into town if we had some facilities. It's even like Main Street when we go, different places. Well, the last place we had didn't have it. It was a disaster kind of. I mean, we just kept going all over the places, because that's what we'd have to do here if we tried to do something.
I think
you know.
that old Walmart center would be
Yeah,
perfect
yeah,
for that.
something like that.
Yeah, there'd probably be a,
The example I like is what the Brevard Music Center is. It's a
Well-
three-sided building, literally, with canvas roll down sides. And what is the Georgia Mountain Fair is sort of the
Yeah.
same kind of
It's the
deal?
Same
same
thing.
thing. Down Hiawassee.
The more rustic you make it, the more people think it's great.
Well, people are not looking sometimes for fancy.
That's exactly right.
Burl, what you got?
Oh, anyhow.
Well, I started to say, you know, we did or I did a little rundown on, you know, the cost of it. Had an engineer on doing a civic center thing there, and it was astronomical.
Yeah.
Was it?
The cost they wanted for it, but the problem with that is that you gotta have extra help and extra people on the staff to take care of it, and the cost to the town just keeps going on and
For more
on and
personnel.
on and on and on. And I too would like to see that here. And I even talked a few times about developing an old CR plant, you know, for that purpose. I mean,
Right.
you know, it's a big structure, it's already out there.
The
It
structure's
has-
there, sure.
It has all the parking that you'll ever need, land behind it even, that goes with it, and, you know, to kind of make that a joint town-county thing.
Right.
It hasn't really been entertained that much of late, but when you talk about funding the Greenway, you know, I guess not having to put into it is probably the only thing we get from the county. I mean, they don't give us anything as far as recreation. You know, they keep theirs up, of course, as for our use too, but we have no funds. They used to give us $150,000 a year to help out with the water and sewer, and that was cut off, and so we really don't get a lot for the tax that folks in the city pay into the
And I
county
was-
tax system.
And I can see that too, Berlin. I mean, I know if you look county or town, but I guess the people that log that and use that, they don't know that.
Right.
They don't know that, and that's where I would wish we could work something out that we could jointly do
Warren,
something.
here's how, I know we're getting a little off track, but I guess that's fine in these types of things. Like Margaret Thatcher said, if you wanted somebody to give a speech, make it a man. If you want something done, make it a woman. Women tend to get stuff done. I've tried for years, I've tried for years, I just haven't got it done, to work out with Kim Poteet, who is the community service worker there. I'm just so tired of seeing those guys rubbing that glass on the courthouse windows and stuff. I know the glass gotta be that thick now. But if there was enough manpower through doing community service, and if we had somebody on staff who could herd them around, that could take care of a lot of the greenway maintenance, plus general maintenance around town. I'm so tired of seeing big blowouts of trash up there going up the Highlands Road. It's the same place, it's the way the winds catch it and stuff, but we do not put enough emphasis on cleanliness in the town and all, but I really would like to sit down with Kim, and if we could figure out on our end who we could use to be the supervisor, but I sense that as a lot of free labor, for lack of a better word, and a pretty steady source if in fact it would work out that way. And I think that would solve a couple of issues. Sissy talking about trying to get some, you know, a presence down on the greenway, so to speak, to keep it up. Is that kind of what you were talking about, Sissy?
Well, it just, well, I guess Pat and I walked the Greenway, and I hadn't, it'd been a while, and we got back into walking, and when you start, look, you go down there, you just need to go down there and walk and look. And it's nobody's fault, because volunteers can't do a lot of that stuff.
Right, but you need manpower.
You do.
Okay.
I mean, it's just overgrown. It's, Bob's been on it a lot more than I have, but I
No,
don't
I
know that.
hate to admit it, I haven't been there.
Oh, well.
Is anybody opposed to trying to
Nancy
see
does.
what we could do with the community service workers?
Well, we let Warren check into it and see what they can do.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
even, inmates.
Warren, I'd like to say, I see such a marked improvement already of maintenance, visible maintenance on lawns and landscaping, sidewalks. People, our crews are out there mowing, and things are looking already 1,000 times better than it did last year.
That sort of leads me on into the personnel part of this.
Well, about the whip knife.
Yeah, we gotta stay.
Let's see, it sounds, my question is this, we seem to be on board, we're gonna try to get a value on the old town hall, go ahead and get a marketing plan. Are we ready to do anything towards the Whitmire property until we get the money? Or do we want to run them both at the same time? If we believe we need to maybe get a study, and it's not too expensive, to give us some ideas and what our best plans would be. I mean, do we want to work them together?
I'd like to hear something like another charrette where we bring people in. Let's see what the public has to say about the Whitmire property too. There's a lot of good ideas floating out there, like the bicycle shop and their group wanting to build some bike trails up there. We've got the hiking club.
But do they have the know-how?
We've
We don't
got
know that.
all manner
We don't know
of
that.
people. We have some young people that have left Franklin that are designing parks all over the United
World.
States and golf courses all over the world and all.
I see, if we had just a preliminary, or, nothing, if we had the study, and then if we wanted to let people see it, that this is what we've decided, this is what.
Have you got any other ideas?
Have you got other ideas? And
sure.
instead of getting everybody, because that'd be the same as if we all had if we all can, we'd all have different ideas.
Are we
They're
willing
gonna
to
have
put
different
a little
ideas.
money in the budget coming up to get something like that done? I mean, we can't vote on it today, but is that kind of what we're thinking about
Well,
doing?
it depends how people feel. How do you all feel, Billy, brother?
Well, right now, we need to continue with what we're doing to Whitmire property. We have the asbestos removed, we need to get that house down, and we need to completely demolition there. Get that
It's not even marketable right now.
No, it hasn't burned yet. We'll end up
Why haven't they burned that one when they burned all this other stuff around? That's the wrong side of town, isn't it?
Bad timing.
Well, normally
Bad
use
luck.
the training,
Some
and
wrong
we're getting a lot of
side of town.
audience training.
They have to walk further.
Are they still trying to get asbestos out of there?
No, it's been removed. We've completed the abatement.
Well, I'm all
But we
for
need to go ahead, now that we've completed that, we need to go ahead and get the building down and get that concrete out of there and get it filled.
I would personally like to see, want to go ahead, once all that's done,
Let's get this
to
done
go
quick.
ahead and look into. We don't have to do it, or it may be too expensive, who knows, of trying to find somebody, because we have to go out, come up with something for us.
I will get some estimates, and I'll bring you some estimates back in the budget
Because
process.
when we sell town hall,
I'll get some estimates on having somebody do some design work for us and bring it back to you in the budget process. Because I'll be honest with you, right now, you don't have it, so I'll get it budgeted back for you and figure out where we can
And
go.
we
with
may not
the
can
budget
afford it,
process.
who knows?
Well, if I'd had my way, you'd have been sitting on top of it right now. And since it wasn't used for its intended use, and we took money out of general fund to pay for it, in my own mind, I think we ought to sell it, put the money back into the general fund,
Well, Furlan, things change.
to offset debts.
And-
I know,
and
but
the
I'm
way it
too
did,
old
I
to
think
change.
it worked out for the best. It changed.
Personnel, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Move on.
That's what they had say, we've licked that calf, Billy.